Hello and welcome to another edition of Double Ramblings, a podcast series starring me and a friend of mine where we talk about various subject matters and we just go off in tangents about it. And for this one, I have my friend James Sullivan returning for his second appearance on this little bizarre series I made up.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by the search for the ultimate question answer. And that question is, can Tom and Jerry kick it?
As ever, always with the plugging. That's what I love about him. But anyway, so for this episode, we're here to chat about the recent announcement that The Amazing World of Gumball is actually getting itself a movie. It was just announced at the recording. It was only announced about last week through Cartoon Network's Twitter, and yeah, it is all go ahead now. So,
a little late on the draw for that announcement. I mean, how long have we been waiting for this?
Well, the show officially ended probably back in 2019, so about a year. We've sort of been humming and hawing about whether this was actually going to happen or not.
And in the meantime, they've been giving us the Gumball Chronicles.
Yes, it's basically a clip show. They've just been doing clip shows in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. What exactly led us to this point? I guess it was Ben Bachlet finally caving into some sort of demand. I don't know. I haven't looked up any research on this myself. But yeah, if memory serves me, back in 2019, when the show ended, and it ended on such a cliffhanger moment.
Indeed, yes.
That we had so many questions, and then the creator just comes up and says, "No, that's it. That's it. No."
Well, okay. So for what I know of, let me just briefly say that I've sort of been holding out hope that there would be a Gumball movie because, again, I think most people are thinking you can't end the show the way it did. You know, that's just clearly saying we need to finish this. This is not how you're going to finish the show off and lead them all on a fucking long, never-ending question mark. I mean, if you're a SATIM fan, you know damn well what that felt like.
They didn't do that on purpose. They actually
not on purpose. No, I mean exactly. But with this case, yeah. So the last episode happened, and as you said, there was an announcement saying that the sixth series was the last series, and the intention was apparently Ben also said that the episode of the Inquisitor was not intended to be the end of Gumball for good. Like he never intended that to be finished. You know, he did say if we want to finish Gumball, we'll do a movie. And yeah, now they're going full forwards with it.
I guess he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
After all.
It's kind of hard to really tell exactly how long this would have been in the works because I had a feeling if they were doing a movie, they would have been doing it as all the time we've been sitting around waiting for it to be announced. Because particularly if you watch the show, you could definitely tell this is not this ain't South Park. This is not a 6-day to air type program. It ain't that type of show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does sort of fall into the trend of what Cartoon Network has been doing with their most recent popular shows. I'm surprised at this point that Adventure Time didn't get a movie, or did it?
I would say its finale was kind of like that in a sense. Come With Me was like a sort of mini, you could argue that was like the movie anyway.
The big shebang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems to be how that seems to be their way of doing things now. They'll go ahead and take their more popular shows and make a TV movie out of it, and it's dare I say it, it's had mixed results. Actually, I take that back. Not necessarily. Why do a TV movie when you can actually go to the movies like Teen Titans? but it didn't
Well,
actually didn't
that's
exist.
like Fish, really, in terms of popularity.
I'd like to pretend like it started with I'd like to pretend like it started with Steven Universe the movie, but it didn't.
Mm.
Um, and needless to say, they got a mixed bag of it's my favorite thing to say. It's a mixed bag of quality
Mm.
when it comes to these Cartoon Network movies.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue it started all the way back with the Powerpuff Girls movie.
Well, in terms of going by, that's the one and only time they made a movie to be theatrically released. Yes. I mean, since then, they've just, if we have a popular show and it gets an audience, we can give them like an hour-long special or whatever. And that's kind of been the mainstay ever since. Although it is funny because I know Steven Universe, the movie, did have, actually, I was at an animation festival once and they did have a screening of that just for, because of being an animation festival. So there are a few times, and there are some events. Like I know some of the Pokemon movies have had screenings as well. Like they've had like special screenings just for them.
Hmm. And and that said, well, actually, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, that was theatrical. I
Yes.
I I I questioned that choice, but in terms of what I actually have seen, yeah, the Powerpuff Girls movie, that was just an extended episode of the show going by going by superhero movie cliches.
and
Um,
he's telling this to someone who really loves that movie, folks. That's something you got to bear in mind.
okay, fine. That's all good. Steven Universe, the movie, I I understand that it was that was really popular,
Mm.
especially with that fan base. But I felt that one was really lackluster because even though I understand it's supposed to be musical, but
Mm.
every time they come on with a piece of music, I just said to myself, wait a minute, there music was a big part of the show, but it
Mm.
wasn't all of the show. With this
Yeah.
movie, it's consistently musical number after musical number after musical number, and very little action set pieces. Which
Yeah.
the only thing that we learn by the end of the episode is or by the end of the movie is basically we're reestablishing the relationships with the characters that we already know because we watched
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it is kind of one of those. If someone told you, what is Steven Universe in that show, you could arguably put the movie on and tell you that's it. But at the same time, it's like if you're a long time viewer, it's like I know this, I know these characters, I know their backstories. In fact, the movie begins with them singing what they were like before they met Steven and all that thing, and it's like, okay, we knew this already. Why, why are you doing it all over again? And also, I think at the time, when they announced the movie, it was sort of viewed as, I guess this is the end of Steven Universe because, weirdly enough, there wasn't talk about doing. I kind of view it as basically a send-off film, but then ironically, they ended up doing an epilogue series for Future. So it's a bit of an oddity in itself. And like I said, it's one issue, and you said it right on the nail on the head. It's like it does a lot of songs, which are really well done. The show has done songs and musicals and beautifully done, but it isn't in that vein of okay, let's have like a minute and a half song and wait for the plot to continue in a few minutes. It reminded me of, in fact, one of them, the "Is This Love" moment, which is Garnet fusing for the first time again. It reminded me of the moment in the Jetson movie, which is, the whole. Oh, the song's eluding my mind in the minute, but basically, there's literally a moment. There literally is a moment where the movie just stops for like a minute, so it just shows you a music video, a really nicely put together music video.
You and
Yeah,
me
you and me,
were
that's it.
made to be in love.
One of
That's the best part of the film.
I know, but it's like literally the thing just stops. Everything just stops for this, little bit. And it's like kind of you could snip it out and nothing would have changed, really. It's just completely pointless.
Hmm.
And like I said, that to me is the nearest. That song is a good example where it just stops for a moment. It's a nice visually what it does and how it's visually done. It has a bit more thematic to it. But again, it's like some of them, that's the one I look at and go like, yeah, we could have just had them fuse and go straight into not knowing who she is, why she's like this, and all that stuff. You could have just easily done that.
Agreed. So, and then yeah, Steven Universe Future just that's a that was a sort of a mess on all on its own.
Well, we won't go into a huge deal. I mean, I like Future. I kind of prefer Future over the movie because it felt like it was actually going somewhere different as opposed to, yeah, we know, keep getting on with it type deal.
It's going somewhere different, and that direction is the big climax we're building to, which is Steven throwing a personal shit bet.
I mean, I thought it was well done, but again, we could be here all night. But anyway, so
Uh,
yeah, you mentioned a lot of Cartoon Network shows. I've had like hour-long features, regular show, We Bare Bears, and it's funny because I was rewatching regular show. That was not the end of it. They did another series in space, and that tied up the whole thing. And again, normally it's kind of half enough. Sometimes they get one in the middle of the seasons, or they do it intentionally as the finale to the whole show. I mean, We Bare Bears did theirs at least.
yeah, and with the We Bear Bears movie, um, that one, I remember it being actually good. I don't remember the plot too much, but it was kind of it was an extended again an extended episode of the TV show, just to an hour long, but
Treading stuff you already knew.
it wasn't just retreading stuff. It was I acknowledged that it was a TV movie, not something theatrical, and so I appreciated what I got.
Hmm.
So that was that.
Yeah.
Um, and then they're gonna follow that up with a Baby Bears series. So
Yeah, that's another story in itself. But yeah, getting back to Gumball. Yes, we're going to talk
so
about. But it,
Gumball has it's amazingly just about outlived or outdone all those shows, and how many seasons it has, how many different directions it's gone.
I mean, it's run for 6 series, although it officially like began like in 2010 to 2019. So it's spread out for quite some time, and on my end at least, it's still been repeated, on a daily basis. So it's hasn't really gone away for me. So there's that.
Yeah. Um, and it's on reruns over here too, especially if you know what time to go on. Um, I think I think that because it's Gumball, we know that at the very least it's going to have it's going to have something to it.
Yeah. I mean, we already know what the show's like in general. Like it tries to do a lot of crazy stuff within, its regular half an hour, 2 episodes, basically, back to back type of deal. So, and then, like I said, in fact, I was on Twitter the other day, which is one of those random things you put something on Twitter and explodes in popularity and not in the bad way. Where I talked about like basically, I would say from series two onwards, the show really found its footing in both not only in tone but in visuals. Like it's very much trying to emulate big visual stuffs in like movies for a television show. And anyway, and like I said, to make this a movie, if this had a theatrical, I could totally see this getting a theatrical release. It would be totally worthy of that.
TV show was that it took what you expected out of a formula and
Hmm.
turned it on its head.
Yeah. I mean,
And
essentially, it's effectively a sitcom about a dysfunctional family. I guess you could call this like the mid 2000s or 2010s cartoons or Cartoon Network. I would argue in the same way The Simpsons is. For everybody who talks about when it's at its peak, people talk about peak Simpsons. They talk about everything just works, everything just clicks, everything's just like bang, bang, bang. The jokes, the satire, everything. I would argue, like The Simpsons, the first series of both that and even Gumball is, in retrospect, kind of a bit shit. In the sense that when it first aired, I will say this: everything that's in the show that's made it what it is there from the very first series, but it doesn't. It's not quite it's not quite up set up to 11 yet. It's still finding out what it wants to be and what type of humor it's trying to do and what are the characters' dynamics are at that point. Because I think the big shift was within Gumball himself, because in that he's kind of a normal kid. I mean, there's hints of his like, because essentially from series 2 onwards, they turn him into an egocentric maniac who can, one hand believe in one thing 1 minute and then totally just deny it off right second. But he's kind of more just an innocent kid getting into these crazy scenarios, and along with Darwin, who's into those episodes, Darwin's way more gullible than he is in later seasons. But like I said, it's just the tone, the feel of the show isn't quite set in yet. And like I said, it's that first series that feels like such an odd duck out of the rest of them.
Yeah, the art style wasn't even quite there yet, if you notice.
No, I mean they have these really weird there was a weird like some episodes these really angular looking moments for the characters. I don't know what the hell they were. I don't know whether they were through the character models or storyboard artists or whatever, but they just had these really bizarre visual features about them, and I just didn't enjoy it. And like I said, in fact, and in series 2, that as they look for a photo album, they literally point out saying, "Is it me or do we look a bit off?" So they just admitted that right up front.
Yeah, it was like the first season of The Simpsons, only in that case where it was a whole lot grittier looking. With this, it was more like, oh, the lines are really long. But
well, it's pretty ugly characters. I mean, some people point to some of the background characters that are pretty damn ugly in that first series.
With that in mind, though, it overall the Gumball, it did create a formula out of not having a formula, which is kind of an odd idea. But the reason why I say have some semblance of a formula for the film or what have you is because by the end of the show, they did start having more and more of a formula. It was just a case of creating it out of nothing. And so you now work yourself into a position where the final season has some string of narrative that's loosely keeping things together, and a lot of questions that are left unanswered. So the movie has to come out and answer those.
Yeah, seeing you saying that, because there has been like one sort of underline, I think, throughout the shows, for pretty much from basically beginning to the end, is I think one aspect the series has been doing is trying to do this like meta joke about the fact that it is a TV show, the fact that these are animated characters in a fictitious world, and yet they don't know it. Because they have definitely done things like they said, for instance, there's an episode involving the Void, which is supposedly where all the world's mistakes, go to. Things like Shorts, Laserdisc, and the Mullet, and lots of other stupid jokes. Like they did one about like the Hindenburg, the paperclip, the Microsoft paperclip, and even the Crazy Frog is in there, along with the Dodos. So they're they don't mess around with these type of jokes. But also, it's like I said, they've had several episodes where their world's been interfered in some format. There was the money, which they all end up broke, and everything gets repossessed to the point where literally everything starts breaking down. So they lose the color, the lip syncing, the drawn off model. And as they rush to Joyful Burger to get the money, everything starts degrading one bit at a time. The animation's gone. The 3D assets are deleted. They're literally reverted back to storyboards and post-it notes. And throughout it, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah. And I mention this because particularly there is one character who I'm pretty sure, I think they're going to make a big deal out of is Rob. So, long story short, Rob was a background one-eye Cyclops character who was just that. He just wasn't anybody. Then later on, they literally make a joke about the fact that he's a nobody, that the characters don't remember his name. So he ends up in the void, comes back into the real world as a corrupted, digitized mess, in which Gumball and Darwin make him the villain, give him the voice of David Warner for
David
some reason.
Warner.
Yeah, David Warner for a few episodes, and then in subsequent ones, he ends up getting a remote from the Awesome Store, which is a back alley van. And again, a running joke they have, which can literally they do every joke. Basically, this show does every joke you can imagine with a universal remote. They can rewind, fast forward, change the color, whatever. But he discovers it's all made up, it's all fake, and throughout that, he ends up discovering more and more of this over time. And the last episode, he ends up becoming Superintendent. What was it? The Superintendent Evil, or spelled evil, which he disguises himself. Yeah, which he disguises himself as a real live action person and tries to warn everybody that something bad's going to happen. And it ends with him falling into a void of nothingness, immediately because the show's probably been canned or something.
Yes. And that's how it ended. That's how the show ends.
Yeah. And I did say this to you a while back, if I posted this to you ages ago, that I think one clue, they've probably been planning this from the beginning. There's an episode involving Banana Joe's mother, who's pretty much brain dead. They make no claims that she's pretty much off her rocker because she had a meltdown at work, and the greatest meltdown you will ever see in all of fiction, in my opinion. And the whole thing, she can somehow paint the future. So she ends up painting Gumball at the mall naked in front of live television. And then as that episode ends, it features the family supposedly running away from the world, literally being devoured by something. So, like I said, I think they've been planning this for a long time. This sort of, again, underlining storyline of literally the world being in threat of it could easily be taken out by the show being cancelled or something.
Mm-hmm. That's our big motive for the film. Kind of reminds me of that one episode where they start running out of a budget and everything starts turning into premature renderings.
Yeah, like I said,
trying to escape that.
Yeah, that's the money episode. That's the one that tells you where they have to make money from an advert, but and as they try to, everything's just getting degraded one by one bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a show that's devoid of social commentary, so there you go.
No, and I would say as it's gone on, it's gone away with a lot more meaner or nasty jokes you wouldn't expect a Cartoon Network show to get away with.
The show's climax being one of them.
Yeah, but I was rewatching this just today. There was an episode involving where they look at Alan the balloon, which Gumball hates very much because he's extremely jealous of him. As a manifesto about how he's going to change the world for better, and they literally have a moment where they say, "If you could, how would you stop? If you could stop the world's worst dictator when he was still a child, what would you do?" And they literally mime all the things like cutting him, splatting him, poisoning him, or in Darwin's case, literally ripping his elbow over and sucking his blood.
In other words, they would.
They would if it could, but they realized it's too much.
Indeed.
But like I said, I think that's one aspect of Gumball's really just carried on, is the fact that it's able to have these type of gags and humor in there and not, still be enjoyable for any audience. I think that's one of the best aspects about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even the idea of doing like sort of a meta humor, like characters discovering in a fictitious world. I mean, the one that comes to my mind was when Red Dwarf did it, the Back to Earth special, where they discover they're in a TV show and try to find their creator before getting killed. And, on the one hand, in that case, it was like, well, this just undermines everything the show has done for the last 8 series at that point. And it's like, well, this is, people are going to be pretty pissed, but then resolve it by literally having, actually, no, it's a dream. Don't worry. It was all fake and made up, but we managed to do some fun sort of metahumor stuff. Although they never did it, I don't think they ever took it too far because they had like Craig Charles appearing in Coronation Street at that time. He was in another show while doing Red Dwarf, and you kind of wish like shouldn't they do that with the rest of the cast members? Like, what are they doing with their lives and what kind of gags they would do? But yeah, never really went down that route.
I guess not.
Mm-hmm. So with Gumball, I expect them to do. I mean, if anything, I expect when they find out, they have to basically, I don't know, escape their world into the real one. I think the first reaction is hold the creators at gunpoint and tell them to keep working.
Keep going. Keep this show going. We want it to be our Simpsons.
Well, let's be fair. It's not the first time they've done this. They met their Korean knockoffs, and they threatened to beat them up and inadvertently kill them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not against the Wattersons to go this far crazy with their actions.
Indeed, that was the thing. So other than that, I have no expectations, except I wish whatever they do with the Gumball movie and the 90-minute long DuckTales finale. Good luck.
Like I said, if they're going to end Gumball, they have to do it as a movie, and the fact they're going ahead with it is great. And as you said, I do have quite high expectations from what I've just gone off about. But like I said, I really, given the way the show is just built up over the years, and you mentioned before, like it had a formula, but I think as the show has figured out what it wants to do, it's able to take those setting and ideas and able to make, like I said, it's able to take an idea of, okay, what if there was a misunderstanding? How far and how ridiculous can we take this? Like, there's an episode in which Gumball overhears, he gets the doubt idea of whether Darwin and Carrie, the ghost, are possibly going to break up, and they do a joke about literally a small figure literally getting bigger and bigger, his ever-increasing demand of doubt, and then going totally apeshit insane within thinking she's going to leave him for another character she met years ago, and just have an entire sequence where he's running through the city just being absolutely insane. So as far as I'm concerned, I just expect if they're going to do that, but as a 60-minute, however long feature they're going to do, I just can't wait. I really am looking forward to whatever the hell they come up with.
Indeed.
Oh no, it started.
So we move on from that particular topic to...
Put it this way, sticking with egocentric blue cats, we go back to the subject of Tom and Jerry, weirdly enough.
Yes, here's another slightly egocentric cat story. Only one that doesn't talk very much.
No, but definitely gets a lot of shit thrown in him for chasing a mouse for how many years now.
Indeed. So, yeah, fun fact about this one. Yeah, with this, they've just announced a new set of Tom and Jerry shorts to be produced for HBO. Brought to us
Max.
HBO Max. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the app that only you people in the States get, and we basically UK people still have to sit down and with our thumbs up our asses.
Mm-hmm. Well, the rest of the world got Disney Plus before we did, so...
Yeah, exactly, you lucky sods.
So, regardless, with that in mind, yeah, this is a new series of Tom and Jerry shorts created for HBO Max by the same team that's been responsible for the recent slew of new HBO Max Looney Tunes.
Cartoons?
Looney Tunes cartoons, yes. And yeah, there's a franchise that they don't seem to know what to do with. But I sat down and watched these newer Looney Tunes shorts, and they started off, they do something that no other recent incarnation has dared to do, and that's start off actually resembling the classic Looney Tunes that we all know and love, with the same theme song and the same Warner Brothers logo thrusting itself in your face.
Effectively, they just went like, why don't we just make new Looney Tunes shorts in those styles people will love and remember? That's basically the whole shebang behind it.
Yeah, give it that 1930s, 1940s aesthetic that they that they miss so much.
Yeah.
And
But still able to do like we're able to do jokes now. They're still able to do various contemporary jokes as well because that's what Looney Tunes did back in the day. They were making fun of celebrities or trends or whatever. So, you know,
and I haven't seen all of this. I haven't seen all of this, all the episodes of this particular batch of Looney Tunes, but I did sit down and watch several of them one night and say to myself, yeah, this is this genuinely, it feels like it's trying to be a classic Looney Tunes short. This
yeah,
is what we wanted.
yeah. I mean,
And sorry, go on.
gonna say I haven't seen a lot of them. I've only seen a few that have been allowed on YouTube, and the first one I saw was like a musical one with Bugs and Elmo chasing each other, and I remember seeing that thinking, they got it. Like, holy shit, they've fucking got it. These guys, I don't know what they did, but they actually figured out how to make this stuff work, and I just like, yeah, I want to see more of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And go on.
Go on.
But in terms of you know, as we said, the fact that with Tom and Jerry, so apparently there's two of them in the works. One's called On the Roll and The House That Cat Built. So they're intentionally trying to make them, and again, they're trying to emulate very much like very early Tom and Jerry, like early mid '40s, first batch of their cartoons back in the day.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I if they approach it with the same angle as they have been doing with their Looney Tunes shorts, then I have faith that they can actually turn out a decent product.
Yeah, on a good note, I only showed this to him just earlier today. Is then somebody's uploaded an animatic from one of them, and for what I've seen of it, just from literally just a bunch of still drawings put together, it's like, yeah, they got it. They got the timing, they got the slapstick, they got the pacing right, and it's like I just want to see it, fully colored and sound with music now. I just want to see how that turns out.
Yeah, see, in my mind, this is what that particular, again, this is what that particular franchise needed, was something along these lines. The last time, the last time I've seen, them do this franchise some form of justice was Tom and Jerry Tales back in the 2000s.
Yeah. For anybody new to this, we did do an entire episode on the Tom and Jerry movie as it was sort of being announced and leaked. But yeah, we did talk about that. They've tried, like Tom and Jerry Tales was essentially just do new Tom and Jerry skits, basically, just put them in different scenarios and, writes itself type deal.
They replicated the formula perfectly. That had great animation.
I
almost perfectly.
My view of it is that I think the first series was still a little bit still learning what to do with it. Like the animation was decent, but it wasn't on the same tier as the theatrical shorts, and also the music. That was something that really bothered me. It was like they kept reusing this one like musical cue over and over again. I can't recreate it. I mean, I may edit it in for the sake of the audience. But again, what it really annoyed me because Tom and Jerry, in the same sense with Looney Tunes, like the music would often accompany the action and the comedy, and there was often like a nice rhythm to it. Like I'd say Tom and Jerry definitely had more slight jazzy feel at times. Like it definitely had a more playful tune, but it very much had like a full orchestra, playing around with the slapstick and the chaotic nature of what was going on. And like I said, that first series of Tales didn't quite get it. I think the second one did a little better, and the animation got a little bit better, but subsequently we've had all those directed DVD, they beat Wizard of Oz, Willy Wonka, and whatever nonsense we want to be sitting on at the time. So, and it is also worth mentioning this. We only found this out just as the actual Tom and Jerry movie, which for Google's sake now has to be dated by its year.
We can kick it.
Yeah. So we won't. So put it this way, like from what we've seen of it from trailers and ads, there's definitely a sense of, okay, how try hard are they going to be with this?
When with this batch of HBO Max shorts, I've actually been wondering if there's making these as sort of a pre-apology for how the movie's going to turn out. And
they're trying to hide. They're trying to give an apology before the shitstorm hits the fan.
mm-hmm. And I don't want to give the film too much grief. I mean, it does look like it's going to be bad, but at least from what I've seen so far, there's sort of a so bad it's good angle coming out of
I
it.
don't know. I mean, my attitude is when we did that episode to now, it's like the stuff with Tom and Jerry is probably going to be decent enough. That's going to be well put together and whatever. It's everything else with the humans and their conundrum and stuff. It's like, yeah, how much do you really give a shit about this and want to get back to the slapstick?
Yeah. I can't give the animators grief. I mean,
Oh
they're
no, never. No, that's the thing. I'll say that from what I have seen of the movie from various clips or whatever. I mean, I will say they definitely get the slapstick down in the 3D, 2D style they're going with, the shell shaded look.
yeah, I'm mixed about the cell shaded look. If it were me, I would have just gone, okay, guys, straight up 2D animation all the way.
I mean, weirdly enough, we did.
You wanted to do Roger Rabbit. This is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, from what we keep seeing is like apparently all the animals in that world are going to be cartoon animals, so it is going down the Roger Rabbit route or Looney Tunes back in action type deal.
Oh yeah, Looney Tunes back in action. Yes, that good movie, not like that other Looney Tunes film.
Say that, although apparently he decided, you know what, let's bring back that basketball movie everybody loved in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they should have made that when we still had Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace. But yeah, this Tom and Jerry movie, they've been talking about this. It's been in the works since they first announced the Yogi Bear movie, and that's how long that they've had to make a good movie out of this.
Well, then again, the question of with Tom and Jerry is, and the whole gimmick is, you have these two characters, you put them in the scenario, and you just let them fly. That's the whole joke about them, and they work in like a short format. That's the whole reason. So put it this way, the last time they did a movie of this, they started off, it starts off like a Tom and Jerry typical thing, back and forth between the two, and maybe not get along with each other, and then decides, well, A, let's make them talk, and B, we turn it into a musical now.
Yeah, I will only defend the 1992 movie on the grounds that, hey, you know what? They were emulating. It's clear they were not trying to make a Tom and Jerry movie. They were trying to make a Disney knockoff musical.
Yeah, I think
and
so. It feels like it's an animated movie about this orphan girl, and Tom and Jerry happen to be in it at the same time.
Exactly. So, while it's not a good movie, as far as a Tom and Jerry film goes, I did have a soft spot for it back in the day, and I kind of sort of still do now, because there's good songs in there. So that said though, with this recent one, yeah, you can pretty much take these characters. There's no continuity in between the theatrical shorts.
No.
Little to no continuity between them. So
no, they could be set any. I mean, the thing with Tom and Jerry, you can set them in any time or any setting. Really, that's the beauty of it.
So part of the success for this for that recent string of direct-to-video films is that they took advantage of that part of the formula. They got say what you will about the variable quality of them. At least they got Tom and Jerry right, but they said, okay, we can stick them in a movie with Johnny Quest, or we can stick them in a movie with a big dragon, make a fairy tale out of it.
Yeah,
some of them were.
It seems like the lesson they learned is saying, well, in '92 that seemed to work. Let's keep doing it for direct-to-video movies, and just shove them in other properties that they shouldn't be in.
Mm-hmm. And that said, yeah, we all know what happened. Eventually, the great evil that killed off that that wing of the franchise altogether. That was crap. No one's going to defend it. But yeah, with this film, they're taking that angle of let's just go ahead and stick them in a hotel. This time, this is going to be our venue for them, and it could work.
But the fact that they got these shorts, as you said, I mean, the irony, if cinemas were opened again, these probably would have played in front of the film instead.
Exactly, and people would be paying $10 to go see that, and then as soon as the movie starts, walk out into another one.
Walk out the doorway. I used to do this joke. I always thought this thing is you could put, say, Sonic Night the Werehog in front of Cars 2, and people have more fun with Werehog than that movie alone.
Oh, believe me. Yeah, I think I think we'll just have to see how the movie turns out, but that's going to be another double ramblings all on its own.
Probably, yeah. But like I said, I am looking forward to these new shorts, and the fact that they are in the same direction with the Looney Tunes stuff is in. Again, it seems odd, like how often they've tried to reinvent these characters or make them contemporary or whatever, and a lot of times it's like it's going to be outdated within like a year or so. So the fact is. And again, Tom and Jerry is well known. Everybody knows it. The fact that everybody in any language in any part of the world can understand it, regardless of race, culture, whatever, or even speech, that's what made them popular in the first place. So why not just stick with that base idea of you can have other characters talking, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the fact that they've tried so hard to put them in all these other different avenues where they just don't belong. They just, why do them in the first place aside from I guess to say that's the big difference, to say like, well, we're not like the theatrical shorts, we're not those really cheap ones from like the mid-50s or even the Chuck Jones ones, which even they try to carry on the same base idea, just put them in new scenarios and make the best jokes you can out of that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I did recently actually show my nieces some of the classic theatrical shorts. Funny story, they've become fans that more or less thanks to the more recent material.
Yeah.
I showed them. I got the theatrical collection, the Golden Collection on Blu-ray, which, by the way, worth the money, worth the investment. I got that for Christmas, so I don't know how much money they paid, but anyway. They were sitting down and they watched that, and after a couple of shorts, they said they were enjoying it. They thought it was funny, but then they said, "Can we watch one where they're friends?"
And that has happened. That has happened. There are one or two where they get along or grudgingly have to get along.
Yeah. There's a handful of those. There's a handful of those, but I just sort of realized, bless their hearts, they didn't realize that when this franchise started, they weren't frenemies. It was it was meant to be balls to the wall, and so I hope that's the sort of thing that we see. From this new HBO slewing. Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty sure if like Looney Tunes, if they go down well, there's going to be a lot more in the future, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, regardless of whatever the movie, if it turns out to be mediocre or terrible, I mean, it could be good. We don't know. I mean, the same thing was said about the Sonic movie, and that turned out surprisingly okay. But then again, another story for another time.
They're really pushing the advertisements for this now.
Yeah,
I noticed that the Facebook is full of 15, 10-second long advertisements for the. You gotta love this. You gotta love how when they first started out marketing this thing, it was called Tom and Jerry. Now I'm being advertised Tom and Jerry the movie.
Yeah, as I said, Google's got its job worked out to figure that out.
They They're willing to pretend like what happened in '92 stays in '92.
Well, they're happy to acknowledge there was a '92 film. It's just if we can name it the same thing, but just put the date of year it was made, then everything's good.
Yeah.
That seems to be the new ordering number of how these movies go.
Indeed, there's no particular order. It's just do what you can with them.
Put it this
See what
way.
works.
Put it this way: in years' time, people are going to say, "Which Tom and Jerry movie you want to watch? The one with the orphan girl, or the one with the rapping pigeons?" There you go. Well, I think we exhausted those two subjects. If you stayed all the way up to hearing this thing, thank you for tuning in with our ramblings. I'd like to thank James for once again coming in to, talk about this nonsense with me.
Of course, I'm always good for an hour worth of talking nonsense when I'm not busy.
Yes, and but on the other side, if you want to see some of his works, he does a series called From Pages to Pictures, where he looks at the difference between novels and the movie counterparts. So I highly recommend you check them out. I'll have links in the description for you to check out his stuff. But yeah, until the next time, I guess if we do another Tom and Jerry thing, I'll get you back on at least.
Indeed.
Yes.
I definitely look forward to that. Also, in terms of my future works, he mentioned From Pages to Pictures. I've got a new episode on the Iron Giant coming out sometime soon. Don't know when, but if you want to catch up with what I'm doing in the meantime, I also help run a live stream every weekend called The Drive-In Mutants, where we riff a different movie every weekend on Saturday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can check that out in the links below as well.
As I mentioned, whenever I get this guy in, it's always the plug-in, and that's what I love about him.
Indeed. So long as I have actually something to say with our main topics.
Exactly, yes. Those are the two things. Well, anyway, until the next time, once again, thank you for listening, and hopes for you lot to come back next time. So take care, folks.
All right. Ciao for now.
Kick it. Can I kick it?
Done.